Welcome back to another video. With the lack of tennis on at the minute, I've had a couple of different ideas. This video is going to be about my top 5 moments supporting Novak Djokovic. I'm just going to rank them from 5 to 1 in terms of what I think of his best career achievements. Just a bit of background really. I'm 22 and ever since supporting tennis from being the age of 9 or 10 I've always supported Djokovic. He'll have been turning 19 or 20 around that time. I've supported his career since, watching all of his Grand Slam matches and pretty much every match that he plays any calendar year. I haven't been lucky enough to see him yet live, but I am planning to go to Roland Garros, especially if it goes ahead now on the rescheduled date. But if we don't get enough tennis this year, 2021 is my mission to see Novak Djokovic live. And I'm sure I will fulfill it, certainly before he retires. Hopefully I see him 2 or 3 times at different Grand Slams. I've been a fan of tennis, as I say, since being 9 or 10. Djokovic has always been my number 1 player, but other than him, I'm a fan of how Stan has produced his best tennis at the biggest stage. I think Stan's awesome to watch, particularly in semi-finals and finals, the way he just times the ball and rips through the ball in the corners. I think he's outstanding, Stan. The way he produces, as I say, his best tennis in them bigger stages, semi-finals, finals. He does it time and time again. I think he will go down as one of the best winners in the sport. He's a real winner, Stan. He knows how to win matches, which is massively important in any sport. He is a fantastic player. Other than him, obviously Andy Murray being British, it was brilliant to see Murray win a couple of Wimbledons, although it was at the expense of Djokovic, unfortunately, in both finals. I did want Djokovic to win both finals, but if I wanted Djokovic to lose to anybody at Wimbledon, it was Andy Murray. He worked very hard for them, and I think he did thoroughly deserve to win a Wimbledon title, which it was nice to see him eventually do. Stefanos Tsitsipas and Daniil Medvedev are coming through, and Sasha Zverev, I'm fans of all them, but Djokovic is the number 1 player. For me, also Borna Coric, forgot to mention him. I do think he could be the next Djokovic if there was going to be one. I think his game style is more similar to Djokovic's from the next gen group. He hasn't perhaps fulfilled career expectations yet, but he is still young, he's learning, he's getting better all the time. I do think he'll be a very solid player come 3 or 4 years time. On the women's side, I don't really have a number 1 women's player. I'm a fan of a lot of them, Muguruza, Halep. I'm a fan of the young Brit Emma Raducanu, who's coming through, rapidly rising the rankings and winning tournaments frequently at a junior level. Also Naomi Osaka, Andreescu. I'm a huge fan of Ken in particular, her mentality on court. I think she's brilliant to watch, and how she's problem solves. I think she's fantastic, playing very different to a lot of other players. In terms of not really having the power, and maybe it's the most entertaining game style, but to see her work opponents out and have that mentality to never stop fighting and not give up on court, real fight for every point. I think she's awesome to watch, and a player that could potentially dominate the women's game for the next couple of years, especially being 21. Maybe not the next couple, maybe it's the next 10. You do forget how young these players are, particularly on the women's side. It's so open at the minute, which makes for fantastic tennis in every tournament being real high level. So moving on to the nuts and bolts of the video, at number 5, so his 5th best career achievement to date for Djokovic, from my opinion. I'm going to go with his first ever Grand Slam title win, all the way back in 2008 now. I didn't actually realise how young Djokovic was in winning his first Grand Slam title. He was only 20 at the time when he beat Joe Wilfried Tsonga to win his first ever Australian Open title and his first ever Grand Slam title. I think your first ever Grand Slam title is always one of your most special, isn't it really? You've made it that time. And I was thinking he must still be one of the youngest male Grand Slam winners to date, even though it was 12 years ago. You think Roger, Rafa, Murray, Djokovic and Stan have really dominated the Grand Slams over this period of the last 10-15 years. Had Medvedev beat Rafa obviously in the US Open final last year, he would have been one of the youngest as well. But Djokovic still must be one of the youngest in the Open era, when you consider he was just 20 back in winning that final. Tsonga had played an awesome tournament, and it was really quite wide open, that final, because Djokovic wasn't obviously a 16-time, 17-time Grand Slam champion then. He was looking for his maiden Grand Slam title, as was Tsonga, and it was a fantastic final, and you could argue the making of Djokovic winning his Grand Slam title at that early age almost took a bit of pressure off him, and I think gave him the bit of confidence that he needed to know he can be the best player in the world one day, which he's proved to be. Number 2, I'm going to go with his his first French Open title back in 2016, which obviously completed the career Grand Slam for Djokovic, winning the Australian, US, Wimbledon and the French. Obviously was awaiting that French Open title. Obviously very difficult when you've got the greatest clay court player ever in Rafael Nadal, obviously winning 12 French Open titles. For Djokovic, I've put this at number 4 because I think the fact Rafa was out injured that year takes the shine off it. Djokovic did take advantage of his omission very, very well. He played a fantastic French Open that year, reached the final to face Andy Murray, who was also looking for his first ever French Open title. And it was a shame one of them had to lose. Rafa was out, and both players, as I say, took huge advantage, both reaching the final very, very well, playing solid tennis on clay, neither particularly suited that surface. But it was Djokovic who pretty much dominated that final. Roland Garros was the man to complete the career Grand Slam, which a lot of players aren't lucky enough to do. So I think that was a huge win for Djokovic to add to his selection of titles. To say he's won all 4 Grand Slams is a pretty special achievement, really. Number 3, I'm going to go with his 3rd Wimbledon title, but this was the first time he'd beat Roger Federer at Wimbledon. I believe his first 2 Wimbledon title final wins were against Nadal and Murray, but Federer's always sort of been considered the king of Wimbledon, hasn't he? He won 8, 9, 10 Wimbledon titles now, and he was the king of grass, Roger. I think he won 4 or 5 consecutive Wimbledon titles at one point, which was mean he was going to every tournament at Wimbledon with 99% of the crowd behind him. Everybody loves Roger. His favourite every match as he plays. He's really at home at centre court. But when Djokovic turned up in that final to face Roger, I think it was almost a changing of the guard. And he sort of said to the tennis world, I'm here now. I'm going to be the world number 1. I'm going to be one of the greatest grass court players ever. And I think he earned a lot of respect across journalists and across fans across the world. With that win, he sort of dethroned the king, beating fair square. It was a 5-set thriller. Roger didn't let his title go easy. It was Djokovic that got over the line, and it was a fantastic win for his career, for himself, and as I say, for proving to everybody that he was going to become he was going to become one of the best ever to play the sport. And I think it's like this in any sport. I think there's certain matches that defy your career, and that'll be one. There's certain matches that you have to win to say, right, I am one of the best, and I'll prove it. And he did that. He beat Roger at his home, and as I say, earned the respect of a lot of people at that time. And obviously since that, he's beat Roger in 2 more finals at Wimbledon. Djokovic has obviously won 5 Wimbledon titles now. Beat Roger last year in an absolute thriller, saving 2 championship points. That hasn't made it into my top 5, surprisingly, which just shows you how good a career he's had. But moving on to number 2, I'm going to go with the 2012 Australian Open title win in that epic final over Rafa. I don't know if you can see the canvas behind me. It might be too far away, but that's actually Djokovic celebrating that win back in 2012 in front of his team. And if I was to watch sport for another 50, 60, 70 year my lifetime, I can guarantee I won't ever see or enjoy a match or an event as much as that. I remember it like yesterday, even though it was 8 years ago. It was the most epic match, high quality match ever going to see really in tennis. I think 6 hours of just the most thrilling tennis. I think the consistency that both players showed, the level that both players played at in their finals in 30-40 degree heat. I remember it was just absolutely unbelievable. I think you remember both players actually getting seats at the tournament presentation. I think they both had tired, they were absolutely dead in the feet. It was a shame somebody had to lose. It was an absolute war of attrition, as I say. The level of that match, the consistency was just quite incredible. It was Djokovic that got over the line, that 1-7-5 in the final. And I think, as I say, if you look back on Djokovic's career once he's finished, one day, there's matches that sum up a person's career, and I think that'll be one. You know, he's got that perfect balance between quality and fight and heart and passion, and he showed it all in that match. You know, it was all rolled into one. He just showed he overcomes hurdles. He produced his best tennis in the best moments, as did Rafa that one. In that match, it really could have went either way. When doing this video, you know, you're looking back at his finals and his semi-finals, the matches he's had over the years, and you don't realise how many epic battles he's had with Nadal. You know, the two unbelievable advocates for our sport, two of the greatest ever picked up a racket. And they really have brought out the best in each other, I think. I don't think either would have been as good it wasn't for the other. They both raise the levels to monumental levels when they face each other, because they have to. You know, if one of them isn't on the day when they face each other, they get blown away, as that's happened over the past a couple of times over the years, but not so often. They often, you know, produce the best and push each other to insane levels, and fortunately as fans, we get to watch them go at it on court. But yeah, that 2012 final was just the most epic tennis match you'll ever see, in my opinion. But moving on to number one now, I'm going to go with his 2018 Wimbledon win, just for the fact, you know, you consider he had that elbow injury in 2017, he tried the physio, which didn't go to plan. He reluctantly had the surgery at the start of 2018, and I think coaches, himself, fans, journalists, to be all sort of worried and doubted whether he would ever, you know, reach the world number one again, ever win Grand Slams. Was his dominant arm. It was a very serious injury. And the arm himself thought it would take, you know, 12-18 months for Djokovic to reach the top five, to reach semi-finals of Grand Slams. You know, the level that a lot of players produce now is such high quality. It's such a demanding schedule. The Grand Slams are very, very tough, obviously long tournaments. And for Djokovic to come back in that Wimbledon, he had no expectation himself. I had no expectation on him. I didn't expect him to get far really in the tournament. I'll be honest. He obviously reached the semi-final, which I think was a remarkable achievement in itself when you consider he'd been off the court for so long with such a serious injury. But the sort of level, the consistency and the performance he produced against Rafa again in that semi-final. If it wasn't Rafa, I do doubt whether, you know, Djokovic might have won that one, but he seems to get up for the fight against Rafa. And as I've said before, they bring out the best in each other. That semi-final was absolute epic. Djokovic saved many break points in that fifth set to hang in there, as he always does. And then he took his chance and won it 10-8. And it's another one, you know, Rafa always seems to be on the receiving end, the bad end of these results against Djokovic, and he perhaps, you know, could have won a couple more Grand Slams had it not been for Djokovic and Nadal, but Djokovic has definitely got the upper end of the monumental battles over the years, but that's just the way it goes. You know, Djokovic produced his best, as I say, in the final stage of these matches and managed to get over the line again. That 2018 Wimbledon semi-final to set up the final clash against Kevin Anderson. He was obviously heavy favourite at that point, Djokovic, when you consider the experience that he's got at Wimbledon and in other Grand Slams. But he produced a clinical performance in that final. You know, returned unbelievably well against one of the best servers you'd probably say in the Open era. His return to serve, it was unbelievable that day. His serve was incredible. His all-round game just very solid, and he cruised to a 3-set win. And I do think that is his best career achievement to date. As I say, when you return on the back of what could have been a career-ending injury, to come straight back into Wimbledon and without any warm-up tournament and win it against the level he did, it was just it just shows how good he is and how hard he worked off court. So yeah, that's my top 5 Djokovic moments. As I say, he's an unbelievable advocate for our sport on and off the court. He's raised a hell of a lot of money for charity, also with his foundation, and he's just been brilliant to watch. His return to serve is a shot that will go down history as one of the best ever. He's serving as well as he ever has now. He's sort of adapting to serve better over the years, and it's a massive weapon of his now. His all-round game, his defence. I think he's one of the greatest ever to watch. So entertaining, the way he involves the crowd, the emotion he shows on court, the passion. You can just see he loves the sport, and hopefully, if it's not this year, it'll be next year and many years to go. That he continues to add many more titles and entertain us with many more matches. So just to sum it up, eventually he's now a 17-time Grand Slam champion, winning 5 Wimbledon titles, 1 French Open, 3 US Open titles, and 8 Australian Open. Hopefully he goes on to win 10 plus Australian Open titles. That would be a brilliant achievement. He's also won 5 ATP World Tour finals, and I think it's 79 grade titles now, so just at the age of 32, it's not bad, is it really? So yeah, that's about it now. Sorry it's only the top 5. I think if I was going to do the top 10, I would still be talking tomorrow. But I enjoy looking through them today, looking back at his career achievements. It's been very enjoyable, and I've learned a few new stats and figures that sort of remind you just how successful he has been over the years. But that's the end of the video. Thanks to anybody who's watched. Please like and subscribe, and also to anybody who's watching, stay safe. It's a difficult time for everybody now, wherever you are in the world. But in a few months' time, hopefully the tennis will be back. Our lives will be back to normal. We'll all be in full health, and we'll be back watching tennis, doing what we do best. But yeah, thanks again for watching. I should be back with another video in the next couple of days. So thanks for watching again, and I'll see you on the next video.